Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. Let's talk about the Chanel and Eli scene. So there's a bit of awkwardness, you know. Chanel walks in, Eli's in the towel. Eli's towel just magically falls off, and she smiles and everything like that. And after some more awkwardness of him putting back on his clothes, um. There's a bit. There's more awkwardness. There's awkwardness when um, Eli says something along the lines of, after she talks about him being naked and making all these jokes and stuff like that, and in the way he said it, Chanel was like, okay, so Lonnie told you about the whole me kissing another girl thing, and then that was a bit awkward. That was a bit awkward, and it got to a point where Chanel was like, well, it's a cool story, so I want to tell you. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm pretty sure he didn't ask to hear this story. I don't know why you're just going on and on about this. But, and this is where I'm starting to look at this like it's somewhat of a problem. Not really, but somewhat of a problem. So after Chanel opens up about, the fact that she's into this girl, but the girl's not into her, and, it is what it is, but it still kind of sucks, seeing hurt and everything like that. Eli's like, listen, I can understand, I can tell when you're hurting, You don't have to be, because she was like, oh, well, I got to be party girl 24/7, and, Eli's like, you're more than that. But this is where it presents somewhat of an issue. So, Chanel, when she went over to Allie's place, she pretty much like, let's just pretend the kiss didn't happen. It's not a big deal. I just want our friendship. It is what it is. But yet she's sitting there talking to Eli like she still wants something to happen between her and Allie. And now it's going to get, I feel like it's going to get into this love triangle between Chanel, Allie, and Trip. Which honestly, to tell you the truth, like I said, I'm fine with it. But it's her back and forth. 1 minute she wants to be with her. Then she realizes that the kiss might have freaked her out. So she doesn't want to lose, she doesn't want to jeopardize her friendship with Allie. So she's like, listen, let's just be friends. Let's just go back to the way things were. But now she's sitting there talking to Eli like she wants something to happen. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, what do you exactly want? Do you actually want to be with her? Or do you not want to be with her because, you just rather have a good friendship than not have anything at all? Like, where's the direction that you're going at? Besides that, and, before I even go back on that, I mean, listen, if anyone would probably understand her and would probably be with her, is Allie, because they come from very similar backgrounds. They both were party girls. They known each other for a while. Like, they hung out. They got really close. And Allie is one of the very few people that's not put off by Chanel's personality. So I can see, it being a thing with those two. And that's if she wants to sit there and pursue that. It's just like, just make up your mind. Besides that, they really talk about Lonnie and Kristen, how Kristen practically nearly screwed up her entire life just by being a good friend and letting her go. Of course, he gets a call from Lonnie, and they're saying that, she's bringing in Kristen, she's going to be arresting her. Now, in the beginning, Kristen was there trying to play off the whole Susan Banks thing, but Lonnie was like, listen, I know it's you, let's not do this. So with that being said, they both sit down. Kristen, gets to sit there and meet, her twins. They get a nice good talk. It's one of the very rare moments that I do see where Kristen's not being, villain mode, pretty much. She's just being her friend. And it was kind of sad because, Lonnie was like, listen, I practically tanked my career for you last time. I can't do that again. But you are like a sister to me. So, it was heartbreaking watching her arrest her best friend, knowing that she's one of the very few people in that world that she's vulnerable with. And, Kristen was sitting there crying, talking about, oh, I'm going to lose everything, and, I'm not going to be able to watch Rachel grow up, and blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, oh, well, I had a plan, and it just went off the rails. And I was like, sweetheart, listen, you did this to yourself. So all that crying about not being able to see your daughter growing up and watch your daughter and, their kids, grow up together, that's on you. That whole thing is on you. So I don't feel bad for you at all. Like, you made a choice, and you just kept making the wrong choices, so it's not there saying, oh, I was desperate to sit there and keep Brady. Like, really? But then again, I sit there and think Brady's the only person that's, stupid enough to sit there and go out with Kristen, so, yeah. You have a nice, good talk, and Lonnie brings in, she calls Abe to pick up the twins, and then she brings in Kristen. And Kristen goes in an interrogation room with Eli. They talk for a little bit, and Eli's like, listen, do you want a lawyer? Like, you good? And Kristen's like, yeah, no, I'm good. And, Eli's like, alright, so I guess I'll be signing your papers to go back to Statesville, because that's where you're going. And Kristen's like, yeah, no. Kristen's like, listen, I'm not going anywhere, because if I go to, I was about to say Penville, Statesville, then, you'll never find where Chloe's at. So, the whole time she's sitting there talking to Lonnie and just being buddy-buddy, she had that ace up her sleeve the entire time. Lonnie's gonna be so pissed. She's gonna be hurt too. And to some extent, I feel bad for her. To some extent. But, I mean, let's be honest. You know exactly what kind of person that she is. So it's like, I don't know exactly how much bad I feel for you, but it's a little up there. It's somewhat up there. So, yeah. That happens. Xander, Sammy, and Lucas. So, Xander pretty much had both of them at gunpoint. And he's pretty much just like, alright, so, who wants to go first? You, shall I flip a coin? What are we doing? So, Sammy's like, how much is Kristen paying you? Because whatever she's paying you, I'll pay you double. There's this funny scene where, Xander's like, she's paying for you more than Lucas because, you're more of a pain in the ass. But Lucas is like, why is your bounty high? Like, why is your number higher than mine? So it's this funny scene. But at this point, Xander's like, alright, we gotta kill one of you. And that's the same. He's like, let's not pay double. She gets on the phone with EJ. And after thinking of a way to sit there and tell EJ, because at this point, it's $10 million. So, to come up with a way to get EJ to pay the money, but not really reveal, how they got in that predicament. So, she comes up with a way, she calls EJ, EJ wires the money, and Xander's like, alright, your fee's paid, so I'm gonna go now, and, yeah, man of my word. So they leave, and Luke is about to leave, and Sammy's like, whoa, hold on a second. I'm like, Sammy, what are you doing? The door's open. You might wanna go before he changes his mind. I mean, with Xander at this point, you could just never tell. I mean, one minute he's a good guy, and then under about 2 weeks, he's back to practically killing people because his whole redemption arc meant absolutely nothing. It meant nothing. It meant nothing. It meant nothing because he only did it for someone else and not because he felt it was the right thing to do. And I know I sound like a broken record, but that's just how I feel. But Sammy's like, listen, we gotta sit there and get our story straight because AJ's gonna want to know why I had to wire, why he had to wire all that money. And if he finds out, we're not just gonna be sitting there worrying about Xander, because EJ will pretty much take care of both of us. I'm sitting there thinking, Sammy, why the hell would you sit there and stay with a man that at any point in time could just flip on you to the point where, well, he'll kill you? Like, don't you have kids with him? He doesn't care about that. He'll just end you anyway, and you actually still said you love this guy, like you met. Okay, all right, Sammy. I'm pretty sure there's probably a good explanation. I really hope there's a good explanation for that. Why she would actually be with a man that would kill her just because she looked at another man. Jake pretty much reassures Gabby because Gabby is talking to Philip about, Jake, and she's unsure of their future, depending if Kate makes it or not. And I know I'm going to get a lot of smoke for this because apparently every time I talk about Gabby, that's just apparently a no-no, but that's just not how I roll, so. Listen, I know Gabby is not this heartless woman. I know that she would care if Kate died, okay? I know she cares that Kate is in a coma and that she's not, they don't know how she's doing, okay? And I know it's human to sit there and think about, listen, human nature, she's going to sit there and wonder how how her relationship with Jake is, depending on if, Kate makes it or not. But something about that just seems kind of wrong. It's just like, I don't know exactly how to put it. It just seems kind of wrong. It's like, I get it. I know that, her relationship to Jake is important. But I'm like, yo, this woman in the next hall is pretty much fighting for her life. I kind of think that's a little bit more important, and your relationship is kind of secondary, but whatever. But with that being said, Jake does come back, and he does reassure her, because there's one point where Gabby's like, listen, I get it, we hooked up, you didn't know, you didn't know the status of Kate, but now you do, so if you went out, you get out, And that's the thing, this is the second time a woman was like, listen, Jake, if you went out, the second time, if a woman was like, if you went out, I would understand. Now, Jake does sit there and say that, despite what's going on with Kate, my feelings for you haven't changed. And I really hope he means that, because Jake is the type of person that will sit there and say yes in the moment and not really think about it. And then, he does something and he winds up hurting the person that he's with. He wound up hurting Gwen. I mean, granted, Gwen was trash, but still. He wound up hurting Kate, and Kate gave him an out. And now Gabby's doing the exact same thing, and I'm like, alright, are you sure that you still want to be with Gabby, regardless of what's going on with Kate? Because I gotta be honest, listen, I may not be the biggest fan of Gabby, but if you wind up hurting her, like you did Kate, bro, you are trash. Like, I just don't know how many chances I can sit there and give this character, but I guess time will tell. Anyway, yeah, he reassures her, and then they all, pretty much both of them goes and see Kate, because apparently at one point in time, Kate and Gabby were friends, or as she put it, frenemies. So, yeah. And I didn't mention this before because I kind of forgot a little bit. Chanel, when she was sitting there talking to Eli about her feelings towards, Allie, she didn't say her name, but her feelings towards Allie, and, like her being kind of hurt, and just, you know, whatever, it seemed like she was being somewhat of a decent, normal human being. Like, she didn't seem like this, well, like the person that she generally is, which is generally trash. And I know I do tend to talk, I tend to talk really bad about this character, but to be fair, it's the material that I'm given, so I can't sit there and just kind of ignore it. But, you know, she did seem like she does have somewhat of a soul. Like, she shows, like, in this scene, she showed that she could be somewhat of a decent person, that, you know, she gets hurt just like everyone else, you know. And yeah, she puts on a game, you know, she acts the way she acts, and she, well, pretty much acts kind of terrible in my opinion. But at the end of the day, you know, she kind of, you know, she bleeds just like everyone else. She has love and joy, and I feel like in this scene, there's a chance that she can be somewhat of a decent person at times. Now, I'm going to say this now, because I'll probably want to regret it later on. Well, not really regretting it, but probably being like, alright, whatever. I still don't like this character. At all. I really, really do not like this character. And I like Gwen either. And I kind of like Gwen more now than back then. So, I mean, there's a 2% chance out of 98 that I might actually want to like this character, but, I don't know. Now, Marlena spends most of the time with Brady, kind of just catching him up on everything. Somewhere along the lines, they kind of figure out that, there's a good chance that Kristen got Chloe, you know. They can't get a hold of Sammy, you know, and of course Marlena tells Brady about, you know, the fake brain tumor that Lucas had, and how he wanted to go away with Chloe to Antarctica. And so, you know, at this point he's worried about Kristen, but he's also worried about everyone else. He's worried about Chloe at this point. He's more worried about Chloe because he feels bad, because he feels that Kristen could have did something to Chloe because of him. Yeah. So he winds up sending Marlena out there, and at some point Philip comes in, and Philip, you know, I don't know if, yeah, so Philip comes in, and, you know, Brady lets, you know, Philip knows about Chloe, and that she's missing, and that, you know, he sent Marlena to Damaris' house to sit there and look for Chloe. And Philip was like, do you think that was a good idea? Because, you know, Kristen's on the loose, and, I mean, you just never know with Kristen at this point. So now he's like, oh, yeah, that's, I didn't really think about that. I didn't really think about that. That's the look that he had on his face. And I'm sitting there thinking, you know, this entire time, even in the beginning, you know, when you're sitting there talking to Marlena, I was like, so is somebody just gonna, like, not clean up the blood off his face? I know he just got a surgery and everything like that, but, like, come on, man. Like, can you, like, at least clean this man up a little bit, make him look half decent? You know, he still got, like, dry blood on him and everything. It's supposed to be a hospital. What the hell kind of hospital is that? And yes, with that being said, I think that's about it. I don't think I really missed too much of anything else. If I did, write down in the comment section below. With that being said, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe. I will catch you in the next video.